the heart of Makueni, a region often underestimated due to its dry climate, lies a quite revolutionary in aquaculture.
Here we usually do fingerlings production of both tilapia and catfish. And for tilapia it is simpler because it's a natural method, whereby we usually mix both the females and males in a ratio of 2 females and 1 male, and then they lay eggs naturally in the water. After they have laid the eggs, the male fertilizes the eggs. Now the female lays the eggs first, and then the female fertilizes the eggs externally. Then the female takes back the eggs into the mouth, and it keeps on rotating them for like 7 days for aeration and for them to hatch.
And what makes this story even more special is not just the water or the fish, but the woman behind the vision. She's young, ambitious, and breaking boundaries.
Fish farming, just after the investment, when it comes to pond farming, even in the first harvest, you are able to remain with some of the profit. And then on the second harvest, the second phase, you'll be able to remain over 70% being profit. So it's a very profitable venture. If you check, do some research, you will find like fish farming is among the lucrative businesses that are being advertised.
As a Gen Z farmer, she's proving that agriculture isn't just for the old. It's a profitable, scalable, and empowering venture for the youth, especially women. This is the kind of transformation SMACHS Foundation exists to support, through youth empowerment, women in agriculture, and innovation.
To make the pond is just the labor, then the pond liner, and then the piping. Because we don't advocate for people to use generators or pumps to pump water from the fish ponds because of the noise. Fish don't like noise, so the moment they get that noise, they'll get distracted.
I am Kelvin Chuguna, and on this episode of Farming is Fun, I take you inside one of the most successful and sustainable fish farms, led by a young woman changing the story of Makueni, one fingerling at a time.
You better go learn from someone who has already made the mistakes. Come with the refined copy and then just practice something that has already been working.
In a land so believed that it is so dry in Makueni County, today we travel all the way to Makueni County to meet a young lady who turned a dry land into a wet land doing fish farming. So we're going to go deep into her story. Her name is Faith, and she has such an inspiring story. And for sure, farming has never been this fun. Today we are going to unwind and uncover the deep secrets of such a successful fish farming. So ready are you? Myself, I'm ready, and I'm Kelvin Juguna from SMACHS Foundation, always looking forward to show you why that we usually say that farming is fun. Is it really fun? The question for today is very simple. After this episode, will farming be still fun? Well, let's find it together. Let's do this.
My name is Faith Mumo. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Tiviani Farm. We are Tiviani Farm, whereby we usually do 3 value chains. We do aquaculture, which is fish farming, and we majorly major on fish hatching or fish hatchery and distribute the fingerlings to various parts of the country. We also do value addition of fruits and vegetables, whereby we usually dry them to extend their shelf life from just a few days to more than 24 months. And we also make all animal feeds, which we distribute to our farmers here in Makueni only.
Before the fingerlings, before the ponds, there was a dream. And like many dreams, it began in a classroom. I wanted to know what her academic journey looked like. What choices led her from a school desk to scaling a fish farm? What did she study, and how did her education prepare her for the challenges and triumphs of aquaculture?
My educational background is in BSc. I did BSc in aquaculture and fisheries in Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. And after school, I came to practice the aquaculture because I believe that there's high potential in aquaculture. And it was not something that was being done in Makueni. So I decided to tap that opportunity and try it out to see if it can work.
Her path wasn't straight, but it was intentional. From formal learning to internship, she found herself navigating opportunities many would miss. But how exactly did she seize those moments? I asked her to take us through the critical phase between school and the start of her farming life. How did she even move from theory to real-world execution?
I graduated in 2019. I went for internship at Kamudanga Fish Farm. I was employed for like 6 months at Kamudanga, and then I came to do internship in the county government of Makueni. After that, now due to some few challenges of the way cash flow flows in the county government, there was not much activities. So I decided to venture into now fish farming. In the first year, of course, we used the locally available materials to try now the hatchery. Of course, it was not 100% efficient, but we kept on improving the system that we'll be able to see. How we usually do our aquaculture, the fish hatchery, we recirculate water using our own innovative solution of cleaning the water, and we are able to use at only 5,000 liters to run the whole hatchery, which is able to produce around 40,000 fingerlings every month.
Starting a business isn't easy, especially in agriculture. But what struck me was how she turned a small seed into a full-grown tree. She didn't wait for millions to start. She began with what she had. I got curious. Where did the capital even come from, and how did she make every shillings count? Because financial literacy and resourcefulness are at the core of agribusiness and smart farming, two of SMACHS Foundation's strongest pillars.
So while at an intern at the county government, there was a delay in payment of our salaries or our stipends. So it came as a boom during that month that we were starting. And then my co-founder, who is also my partner, came for fingerlings at the ATC, and they were not available. So I told him he can start a small hatchery, and that's how now we started. He can start a small hatchery. So he invested something, and I also invested something in starting it. So we pulled in now that capital, and that's how now we started the hatchery.
Before we get our feet wet, literally, I wanted her to give us a snapshot of what lies ahead. It's a masterclass in structure, innovation, and sustainable practices. So I asked her to walk us through what makes this place tick and what exactly we should expect in the next few scenes.
Here we usually do fingerlings production of both tilapia and catfish. And for tilapia, it is simpler because it's a natural method, whereby we usually mix both the females and males in a ratio of 2 females and 1 male. And then they lay eggs naturally in the water. After they have laid the eggs, the male fertilizes the eggs. Now the female lays the eggs first, and then the male fertilizes the eggs externally. Then the female takes back the eggs into the mouth, and it keeps on rotating them for like 7 days for aeration and for them to hatch. So after 7 days, then it is pitched now the fingerlings, or at that stage you call them fry, to the water, and then they grow. Now here we usually harvest the eggs before they have been hatched. So we come get the fish with the eggs and wash it in the eggs in water, and then we go and incubate it artificially using a method that we have innovated that can now circulate the eggs the way they are usually rotated in the mother's mouth. Now for catfish, we'll be able to see the process they do tilapia harvesting. Now for catfish, they don't hatch in artificial environments. They only hatch in natural environments like the lake. So here we have to do it artificially, whereby we have to inject the female using a pituitary gland extracted from the head of the fish, and then after that it makes it to be like in layman language on it to induce the eggs, to remove the eggs. And then now after removing the eggs, we usually either do surgery or sacrifice the male to remove the gonads, which are inside the mouth of inside the stomach of the male fish. So after that we prick the gonads. The gonads in layman language it is testes. So after pricking them, now we pour the milt. Milt in layman language is now the sperms. So you sprinkle on top of the eggs, and then in 1 minute they are fertilized. We have incubators that will be able to see. Now you incubate them on top of those meshes. For them, they have to attach on a substrate. And then after 24 hours, they hatch, and we have our fries. Then we feed them for like 1 month, and then now we sell to farmers.
The success of any fish begins at birth. Fingerlings are vulnerable, delicate, and require precise care. I needed to know, what method does she use to ensure that high survival rates are actually preserved? And what kinds of environment, feeding, and attention goes into raising these little lives until they are strong enough to grow?
Yes, we have, like I said, we have, during the 3 years or the 4 years of operation that we have done, we have kept on improving. Of course, from the first month, we had like 40% of survival rate. We kept on improving, but now it's up like to 90%. So there are parameters that, or there are environments that the fingerling thrives well. And there are several water quality, especially the water quality part, that we usually ensure they are in order. You'll be able to see that, and we are trying to use the natural ways to maintain this. Like one is temperature, whereby for fingerlings to thrive well, you have to have 26 degrees to 30 degrees. Here we have used the transparent iron sheets or mabati to make sure it allows more heat into the hatchery. In other hatcheries, they use heaters, electricity heaters, and so on, as we are not yet connected to any grid. And the other thing is aeration, whereby we have a solar aerator that pumps oxygen into the fingerlings, because we usually overstock the units. So it is just basically making sure all those water quality parameters are in order. And for the ones for here, we usually do the measurements of these parameters every morning and every evening, so that we make sure they are in the right amounts or rate.
Like any livestock, fish face the threat of disease. But how does one treat what swims underwater? I asked her to unpack the common diseases in fish farming and how she proactively prevents outbreaks, because proper disease management supports both sustainable and climate-smart agriculture.
So in fish farming, the only here in Iviani, since we started, we have not been struck by any diseases. It is very hard for fish to get sick for as long as you maintain the water quality. But the most of the diseases that farmers encounter, it is like fungi, or the other one that is common is bubble gas disease, whereby if you don't feed the fish, they keep on trying to gasp for feed, thinking it's feed, and then now their stomach gets filled with air. Now after they get filled with air, you'll find like they are lying because of the buoyancy. They are lying their back, they are like the other way around. The back imeangalia, tumbo imeangalia juu, the back imelala kwa nini. So I think it's just those, but for our farmers that we usually engage, because here at Iviani Farm we have been able to train over 30,000 farmers through different partners and also through our own efforts. So with that, usually even before we give you fingerlings, you have to go through at least 3 days training for you to be able to know how to rear these fish without constraints.
Well, what if I told you that fish farming doesn't really end at the pond? It continues to the market. I was curious, who are her clients? I was really curious to know that. Restaurants, supermarkets, or institutions? And how does she build a reliable customer base that keeps the business thriving? Market linkage is essential in making agricultural profitable and sustainable.
So our customers are majorly the whole country, because right now you'll be witnessing us pack fish to go to Nakuru. We usually, I think for the authenticated hatcheries in Kenya, they are very few. And for people who want to get into fish farming, the serious farmers, they usually, of course, see from the website of Kenya Fisheries, and also from when you search fish and so on, you'll be able to see us in the websites. So in that way, we get customers from all over the country, and also from us advertising. Like now, this foundation, where you go and post our our story will be able to get more customers and other channels that have been able to come and feature our stories. So I would say our customers are the whole country, but majorly it is in Makueni and Taita Taveta.
This is the golden question for many aspiring youth. Is fish farming really profitable? With all the inputs, time and resources, does it bring back returns that can actually sustain a life and build wealth? I asked her to reveal with us about the economics of this venture.
So I think for hatchery, the only investment that you need to put in place is now the structure and the systems. And now after that, after the first run and second harvest, you can be able now to start getting a bit of the profits. But now for pond farming, maybe we just do a quick math, like a pond like this on here, which is called a raised pond. And this one is able to be suitable for the farmers that don't want to interfere with their land through maybe excavation. So this pond is like 4 by 3 meters, and it is able to carry 500 catfish fingerlings. So when you get for 1,000 fingerlings, it usually consumes 8 bags to maturity. Only 8 bags of 50 kgs to maturity, and then let's say now survival rate becomes to 90. So I think for fish farming, just after the investment, it is when it comes to pond farming, even in the first harvest, you are able to remain with some of the profit. And then on the second harvest, the second phase, you'll be able to remain over 70% being profit. So it's a very profitable venture. If you check, do some research, you will find like fish farming is among the lucrative businesses that are being advertised.
Every journey has its own pitfalls, especially in farming. But the beauty lies in learning from those missteps. I asked her to reflect what are the biggest mistakes beginners make in fish farming, and what should viewers avoid if they are serious about the success.
I think some of the mistakes that some of the fish farmers do is rearing fish without first getting the market. Because now, like any other livestock, when the fish gets to maturity, and then you don't know where to take to, or even chicken, they'll now start feeding extra coin that is not supposed to be consumed. So I would say farming without getting the market first, it's one of the biggest mistakes that we usually do. And here as Aviani Farm, we try to avoid it in such a way that we only hatch fingerlings when it's an order. We don't do it just for them to stay here, because we also don't have capacity to grow the fish. And also for our farmers that we usually sell fingerlings to, we have contracted 3 buyers, whereby we usually link them first to the buyers, they agree on the price, they sign the contracts, and then after that now they can now do the fish farming comfortably, knowing that their fish has a ready market.
If someone's watching this right now, feeling inspired but unsure where to start, what's the door that they should actually knock on? I wanted her to tell us. What's the entry point into fish farming? Is it training, land, ponds, or just passion?
So I think the easiest way is to start small, of course, for you to learn, because fish farming is a bit technical, I would say. It is just not for the layman's. So I think it's basically starting small, like a small pond like this. Try to learn, try to understand how fish farming is done, because they are even feeding them. They have a way of feeding them. If you feed them in the wrong way, they will not eat and the feed will go to waste. So first is to start small and then understand the techniques of growing fish. And then after that now, you can now get, after you harvest the first batch, or after you get to know the correct ways to grow now the fish, then probably you can now get in full into the business.
Many people think starting a farm means buying expensive gear. But what are the actual essentials? I asked her to list and explain the basic equipment needed to start a fish farm and run it sustainably. Let's bust some myths and focus on the smart tools that matter.
So basically when you want to start fish farming, what we usually do for our customers who don't already have ponds, let's give the popular example of the ponds that we usually make. So we usually make ponds of 6 by 8 and they are capable of carrying 1,000 catfish fingerlings. So for as long as you have the land, and you have water source. It is not necessarily equal a lot of water source, because we have a system that is able to clean the water, and you can reuse it for the entire cycle 6 months before you have after you harvest. So you just need the land, a certain amount, let's say 10,000 liters of water, and then you will need now we usually say now they pay a certain amount that we usually charge for us to make the ponds. To make the ponds is just the labor, then the pond liner, and then the piping, because we don't advocate for people to use generators or pumps to pump water from the fish ponds because of the noise. Fish don't like noise, so the moment they get that noise, they'll get distracted. So we have a piping way that we usually do, like the stand pipe. So you just bend it down and all the water will be able to come out. So basically land, water, and pond liner, piping, and a technician, because also the pond, there's a certain engineering mechanism of constructing the pond. If you see the ponds that we have here, they have a bit of a certain slope in both ways, which is calculated in some few ratios as pond engineering 1 year and there it needs to be done.
With all the ups and downs, wins and losses, would she still choose fish farming if she had to start again? That kind of reflection tells us a lot about the value of this journey.
Of course, I'll get into it and try, because already I know the constraints, where to start, and it is what we usually, even when we are training the youths, you better go learn from someone who has already made the mistakes. Come with the refined copy and then just practice something that has already been working. So if I had all this knowledge, probably I wouldn't be here. I would be landing with the choppers or whatever, because we made a lot of mistakes which had a lot of losses. But now, whatever now we are doing now, it is somehow effective. Like it's 95% effective. So if we had this knowledge at this point, we would be very much ahead.
To the young people watching this, maybe you are jobless, unsure, or think farming is not for you. I ask her to speak directly to you. What advice does she have for the young youth? How can you get started, and what mindset should you embrace?
So there are no jobs in Kenya, that is for fact. Even if it is a painful statement, we'll have to accept it. But now you can start from somewhere. You can start from what you have just around. It doesn't necessarily mean like you get into fish farming or what, but you can even get, in every value chain, there is end-to-end activity that is involved. You can even start buying fish and frying them and selling to people. You can even get into transportation, transporting them to the people who are buying. So at least try something and try to employ yourself, because if you stay there idle, you know, an idle mind can do a lot of things. You'll get, especially for, I think now, Kitambo, it used to be men, but I think for now it is both men and women who are getting into drugs because of idleness. I'm telling you, while we are here, like a whole day you can even go without food because you are busy in one point or the other. So you can be sure even the young people that we have employed, they don't even time for eating mogoka and doing bangi and all that. So try to find something that can make you at least busy and that can get you a little money. Also, we also need to behave very well in front of our parents or our guardians, because you see, like 75% of the parents who are refusing to give our youth land, it is because they know the kind of person you are, the character that you have. So if you have a good character and your parents knows how you, like you are a good a child to me, so it is very easy for them to beg with you a land for you to start something if you have passion in it. And then if you are given the land, try to prove to your parents that it's doable. When your dad sees you carrying heavy things, trying to make something, if he has the uwezo ya kukusaidia, he'll be able to say, my son, shika hii 1,000, try to find other people wakusaidie utengeneze haraka. But kama wanajua we si mtoto mzuri, we ni mtukutu, they will not be able to support you. Then the other thing, don't try things because you have tumesema they are profitable or they are giving me money for the sake of the money. you know, there is falling and waking up, falling and rising. So in the falling, if it is not your passion, try something that you are passionate about, because if this fish farming, which is my passion, even though I'm doing other things, but fish farming is my passion. If it fails 100 times, I'll seek ways to raise it up, because it's my passion. It's something I like doing. So for the youth, do something you like doing, not for the money, because if the money doesn't come, you'll just give up. But if it's something you are passionate about, you'll be able to keep on doing, keep on trying new methods until you get there.
The mark of every great entrepreneur isn't about what they've done, but where they are headed. I asked her, 5 years from now, where does she see her business? Her answer, a map to scale and community change.
So I think in 5 years, we are thinking of expanding our hatchery even to various counties, and also to penetrate in the, I think our major goal is to paint all the asal or arid and semi-arid areas blue. We need to prove that it is doable without water, because we have innovated our own technology of conserving water. We need to distribute it in all the semi-arid areas. With that, the only, the only landmark that will leave behind is curbing malnutrition in these asal areas through fish farming. So that's our target. We are looking into Kitui, Machakos, Taveta, and all the other asal areas. And then in terms of fish farmers, you know, like we import close to 60% of fish from outside, from China and so forth, because we are not able to produce enough of the fish that is demanded in Kenya. So through these innovations and all that, we are thinking the production will go high, and then we'll be able to at least eat what we know it is safe for us. Because we don't know what happens in China. We cannot go there and know how the fish was produced. But if we produce this fish, I eat comfortably because I know what I've given it, I know how I've reared it, and it is safe for me.
She's not just farming for profit, she's farming to empower. I asked her how many people she's been able to train, mentor, or even impact through this business. Because building back to the community is a key pillar at SMACS. Building not just the farms, but the future.
Here at Tiviani Farm, we have been able to train more than 30,000 young people, both women and youth. And in counties that you can reach us, that we have already implemented this, it is here in Makueni, in Machakos, in Nakuru, and also in Taveta. I think in terms of the technology that we have been using. But in terms of training, we have been able to train, I think, across the country. We had farmers from Elgeyo Marakwet coming to learn about what they can do to at least stop fighting and try fish farming. So through different organizations, we have been able to train all these 30,000 farmers, and also our own efforts. Organizations that I would not be able to mention their names. So now that you have heard my story, do you believe farming is fun? Okay, if it's farming is fun, then I welcome you to take action. John, nikufunze about fish farming. Don't make mistake that I made because I have all the knowledge. Kujia a refined copy of the fish farming.
Her farm is not just your ordinary fish farm. She has implemented clever innovations, pond design, and productivity. I wanted to understand how her system works and why it is more efficient than traditional setups. Innovation is what takes farming from survival to success.
So this is the innovation that we have been able to do here at Tiviani Farm. It's called ASAL RAS system, or ASAL Recirculating Aquaculture System. It recirculates the water from the pond and then cleaning it, removing all the impurities, and it is able now to be used. The water, you can use the water recycling over and over. In the first tank, we have filled it with these porous stones. So these porous stones, they have oils. These oils, when the water is pumped by a solar pump from the pond, it comes into the first tank. The water from the pond is carrying solid waste and also dissolved waste in form of ammonia. So when it comes to the first tank, all the waste, solid waste, it gets stuck into these oils. and then now the water, after it gets filled here, it flows to the second tank. The second tank is filled with these porous stones halfway, and in that way, now it is the purpose of the second tank is to remove any extra solid waste that might have been escaped from the first tank. Then now after the second tank, after it has been filled, it goes to the clean water tank, and now it gets back through gravity. Now pump is inside there. It gets back to the pond through gravity. And now the way the water is getting back to the pond, it has one advantage. You can see it is removing bubbles. So in that way, it is an extra aeration to the fish, or because the fish are able now to get extra oxygen. And with that, it is where the concept of overstocking this pond comes in. This pond, in ideal situation without the RAS system, you can stock only 500 catfish fingerlings. But with the RAS system, you can now triple that to 1,500 because the water is aerated, it is all clean. And then in these 3 tanks, we have put a bacteria, Nitrobacter bacteria, that deals with the ammonia or the dissolved waste. Now this waste breaks down the harmful ammonia into less toxic substance, whereby now you'll be able to see it in the hydroponics. In that way, the ammonia is good after it has been broken down to nitrogen. It's good for plants. So we, in the hydroponics, aquaponics way, usually pass the water to plants. They get the nutrients, and then it goes back now to the pond. And then we are using just one solar panel, and then a very small pump that is able to pump 800 liters every hour, and then just that one solar pump to run all this system. So this type of pond here is called rest pond, and it has some advantages. So one of the advantages for the people who are in urban areas where you cannot excavate the land, and also for the farmers when you hawataki kuchimba their land and leave them with holes, you can try this type of fish farming. You can also do fish farming ukitumia this method, because for this method you just need a structure like this. Now you will not be able to kuchimba land yako. Then 2, it is also good for safety, especially kwa wazazi wenye wakona, kwa farmers wenye wakona watoto wadogo, they will not be able to get inside the pond. So over here is a excavated liner pond, and the advantages of this type of pond, it's one, when it comes to gender equality and so on, one, it's able, hakuna mwanamke anaweza ingia hapa asafishe na akuwa anaweza fanya ukulima wake, because it is just 1 meter deep. Na pia even people with disabilities, they are able also to, they can get into fish farming in this way, kwa sababu wanaweza lisha, wanaweza ingia mpaka wasafishe. And then the second one, pia also handling yake, kuosha, kusafisha, it is very easy. We have a stand pipe there, pia kutoa maji ni rahisi, unaangusha tu pipe, maji inatoka. You don't need petrol, you don't need sources of tuseme solar za kupump maji. And then iko pia na disadvantages zake, whereby one, si safe kwa wazazi or farmers wenye wakona watoto wadogo, because watoto wadogo, they can crawl and get inside.
What a journey, but we are just halfway. The second part of this episode will take us into the hatchery, where tiny eggs become fish and fish become cash. We'll dive into incubation methods, advanced breeding, and fish marketing. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. From school to sustainable aquaculture, today we've seen a real-life blueprint of innovation, empowerment, and resilience. She's inspiring, employing, educating, and innovating. We've talked about education, capital, climate-smart technique, diseases control, profitable equipment, and empowerment. And all this aligns with the Pillars of SMACHS Foundation. I am Kelvin Juguna, your host of Farming is Fun and a proud Gen Z who believes in the power of agriculture to transform lives. Make sure you watch part 2, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who needs hope, direction, and a reason to believe in farming again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you get to be notified anytime we get to upload a new video. Let's meet in part 2.